Because it's not even saying, do you think, it's an assumption of you think it's okay.
You think it's okay to use toys in the marriage bed.
Hello and welcome to another video. This is a couple challenge video. So my husband is here. This is Jerrell. I'm Kytia L'amour. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of my YouTube channel. So today we're going to be doing a part 2 of what I did last month, I guess, which was me answering assumptions about me, but now we're answering assumptions about our marriage. So I asked you guys on Instagram to send in some assumptions using the question sticker, and we're going to be answering a few of those today. We're going to keep it brief because we want to answer as many as possible, and also because our baby girl is right here. She is not feeling very good, so I don't want her to be having to hear us talk forever. So let's go ahead and get into it then. We're going to take turns and go back and forth and answer it, and that's what we're going to do.
That is.
Okay. So basically if they have a little squiggly line, then we're going to answer it.
Okay.
Yeah. You go first. Plot twist, he's gonna answer first. Also, the lighting is changing a lot because we're using daylight and it's scattered clouds, so if it gets a little bright and then a little dark, it is what it is. That's what we're dealing with today.
Alright, so the first one, you guys knew it was meant to be right away, question mark? I think for me, it took a while. Like, I knew that there was interest when, we shared our story. So when we first met, it was kind of like we weren't even formally introduced. We were kind of just in a group of people. But on that trip where she was out here, where her friends, I did know that I was into her, but it wasn't until we spent time in Hawaii that we clicked with where our life goals were and where God was kind of calling us to be. And I think that was like months later.
Yeah, that was several months later. So if you haven't already checked out our playlist about our love story, we did a 4-part series starting from our first impressions of each other all the way up into our wedding day. So I'm going to link that above so that you guys can check that out if you're more curious about how we met and all the details about it. The next question is, you 100% know what a godly relationship marriage is, and you are doing exactly that. I wouldn't say we 100% know. Well, the Bible is very clear as far as what a Christian household should look like and how a husband and wife submit to each other and respect each other, how you should be raising your kids up, and even just as a Christian in general, what you should be doing and what your life should be emulating. So I'd say in that sense, we have a guidebook. But do we 100% always know what we're doing? Like in our marriage, I would say we've learned. We're about to hit 10 years in a couple months. And it took us a while to learn how to function as Christians in a relationship who are committed to sticking it out forever with each other. But yeah, I wouldn't say we ever will 100% kind of know what we're doing, and that's what faith is about and why we trust God completely with our marriage, because He will know how to get through the rough patches and how to stay humble even during like the blessed seasons and all that stuff. I hope that answered that question.
Dealing with someone else 24/7, it's a lot of commitment. Also, do marriage free of cheating exist? Yeah, I think that's the first thing that I kind of noticed was, and when you get married you do notice this right away, because especially if you haven't lived together, is that we knew we loved each other and God called us to be together, but we were never around each other all the time. We were already just long distance actually, so our time together was only like, hey, let's do these things together before our trip was over. And then to wake up every day together and go to sleep and have a routine and all that stuff, that took some learning and adjusting, because obviously you don't grow up with the people you marry, and then you have to learn that. And in terms of does cheating-free marriage exist? And yes, it does. So it's just a matter of how you're committed to the relationship. And I know that a lot of press goes to people who cheat in their relationships, and you hear that a lot. And you hear a lot about even just people like who aren't abstinent before marriage, but just because you hear of other things a lot doesn't mean the converse doesn't exist. So yes, it's possible to be in a relationship and in a marriage without cheating.
And this is proof, because we have not cheated on each other. You guys have a lot in common, though slight differences, good or bad, to maintain balance in your relationship. So I know that some people say like, oh, opposites attract, and that's like the formula, I guess, for relationships. I wouldn't say we're complete opposites. I say that there are definitely some things that are very different about our personalities and characteristics, but it helps each other. So I'd say that there is a lot in common. Music, lifestyle, how we raise our kids, obviously our belief in God, and living our life firmly by what the Bible says. And though we make mistakes sometimes, we're not perfect, but our goal is to be more Christ-like. I say that the fundamental things about our life are very similar, but yeah, just small things and preferences are a little bit different. And I would say, like, for example, I want to list some examples of me, how I'm different, and you can list a couple of examples about how you're a little bit different. So I think for me, what I've noticed is when we first got married, because we've kind of balanced each other out during our 10 years together, but when we first got married, what I noticed about myself is I was very organized, very orderly, to the point where if my room or space wasn't organized, I would like be very frazzled and just very uncomfortable, and it was very hard for me to have clutter or things out of place. And then also I feel like I was assertive to the point of being kind of aggressive, and I was told that by many people, and I realized that that was not absolutely a great quality, to be like aggressive in like defending myself or being right, or I don't know, having conflict or whatever. So I'd say that was different. I'm trying to think of a third thing that's different. I'd say this too, like even though I went out a lot with my friends in college and had coworkers and stuff, at my core I'm definitely more introverted, and I'm really okay just reading a book by myself and not having anybody around for a while. But he was definitely more into like being out and being around people and volunteering and stuff. So, but for me, I was just like, no, that's not my cup of tea. I'd rather, like, I need time to recharge, and I think that was very different with us. So what are like 3 things you think that's
I made 3. I had 2 in mind.
Okay, you can just say 2, because the third one was hard for me to come up with.
I think we come from different communication backgrounds with family. Her side more outspoken, mine's more reserved, and I feel like we both helped each other because we come more in the middle, and she helped me to be more vocal with a lot of things, because that wasn't what I was accustomed to or grew up with. And so that, like, that's kind of we've found a great balance with that. And the other one, now, don't forget it. Oh, okay. So the other one was that for me, I have a lot of patience, and so yes. I can like, it's like for good and bad, where I can handle a lot or allow a lot to kind of water off a duck's back kind of a thing. And for you, like, there's more things that would be like pressure points that would set you off, or that you'd be sensitive or stress you out. So I found that we were very different in how we process that, and over time we kind of help each other to find that middle ground as well, because we were different in that regard.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And that's a good question too, or a good comment, assumption someone led.
Y'all work as a team, and you know what the other is thinking. We do work as a team. Teamwork. Yes, so we work as a team, true. Sometimes we know what each other are thinking. I think that comes with being in a relationship like ours, where it's like you get into like a rhythm or routine and kind of I don't know, synergy, or like a process where you guys are kind of sharing the same thoughts because you have the same experiences, and you have like, oh, I know what she thinks in this regard, and I already know because we had conversation about it, or we have an experience. So most of the time I think we do, like, we almost share the same brain on some ideas, but when there's like new ideas or new things that we haven't like traversed that ground, then it's like figuring out like, oh, okay, that's your view, or that's what you're thinking on that, and that's kind of a new revelation over time.
You're both mature and choose to love each other like God loves, though it might not always be easy. yes, it does take maturity to love, as God calls us to love, and it is a daily choice, I believe. And there have been times early on in our marriage where the sacrifice of what people would call compromise and coming to an agreement about things and figuring out how both parties can benefit from something, that took a long time. That took years to develop and say, okay, we're both willing to do whatever is going to be best for our future, for our family, for our relationship, but not feel like slighted and like, oh, like he won or she won.
Yeah.
I feel like if it's like a battle of like winning points, then that's going to be really hard to have a healthy relationship with. Fortunately, having the Bible and just understanding what it means to be a Christian and what it means to love each other, to honor each other, to respect each other, and knowing that love is patient, love is kind, love is long-suffering, all those things, is like you're reminded why God loves a certain way, because it really does benefit everyone to not be selfish and to not be self-seeking and self-centered, but also to not be a doormat and to do whatever the other person says to avoid conflict, because conflict in and of itself is not a bad thing, but coming to an agreement and understanding, though, is very important if you are on opposing sides of something. So yeah, that is something that had to be learned, definitely.
You both are supportive in the other person's goals. Yes, we are. That's a good assumption. We support each other in everything. Being that we have similar callings, it helps us to understand like what the other person, their view or their vision or what God's doing in their life. But also we see the fruit of what we're doing. We know that there's value in it, and there's nothing that's like, well, this is just a frivolous thing, or I don't care about that. We really care about what each other do, what we each do, and what we're called to do. So definitely, we support in that regard.
You guys only listen to Christian music. I would say most of the time it will be praise and worship if we're listening to music, but I also like jazz and a lot of music that doesn't have words to it, because I can just kind of like chill and like, oh, we're going on a long drive and we still want to talk, or you're just kind of enjoying yourself. But I would say for the most part, listening to praise and worship, because daily that's something that praising and worshiping God is something daily that you should be doing to set the tone for your day and to fight, spiritual warfare in that sense. And I know for him, when he is working, which means like drawing and doing his creative stuff, like he definitely has like a playlist that he likes for himself that gets him like in the zone of like working and everything. So I'd say like for a majority of the time, if it's just we're putting on music in the car or something or listening to it, number one Pandora playlist for us is like praise and worship, or like praise and worship for kids, because Petra likes to sing and stuff too. So that's that answer.
You're goofy together. Never. Never have we ever been goofy together. Yes, we are. I don't know, I think our personalities are very joking, and we like to have fun, and sometimes that ends up being goofy. But I'm not going to do anything goofy right now to prove it.
Not on the spot.
Nope.
You see it mostly in our vlogs where we're just hanging out, though. But yeah.
And we'll probably have some outtakes in this video, so.
I don't know. We're getting so good at recording that we don't have as many outtakes anymore.
Sorry.
But definitely vlog stuff, we're doing things, or I think that's one of the biggest things that even attracted me. And that's one of the biggest things that even attracted me to him, was his sense of humor. And it doesn't even make sense to everybody. Like, there will be times where I'm cracking up and other people are like, he didn't even do anything. And it's like very obscure types of humor. I don't even know how to describe it, but he does consistently keep me laughing. But definitely when we're by ourselves, we feel a little more loose to even act that way. But yes, you are correct in that assumption. Next one. The other assumption about our marriage is that it's really hard to maintain. I would have agreed with this maybe a few years ago, because we've been through a lot in our marriage, and mainly like our first 8 years, I'd say, were very roller coastery, not just of our relationship, but just circumstances and things happening around us or things that we've been through. So feeling like we're hitting so many hard times back to back definitely put a lot of strain and pressure on our relationship, and wanting to commit and wanting to work it out and wanting to do till death do you part. So I'd say that what really helped us was almost like hitting rock bottom of the hardest things that we've gone through, and just being like, you know what, I don't want a marriage like this anymore. And a lot of people will say, well, then get a different relationship, or like end this one and start something new. But I feel like if two people, two of them, both husband and wife, are willing to say, you know what, let's start from scratch, let's go back to the beginning, back to the basics. If two people are willing to do that, you can make it through. And that's kind of what we had to do, was just like toss everything out the window, start from scratch, build a new foundation, and say, look, what do we want out of this marriage? What do we need as husband and wife? And even making a list for each other of like, this is what helps me to feel loved. And him doing the same thing to me, like saying, this is what helps me to feel loved. And that in itself really changed a lot of our relationship, where we are not striving for ourselves to get what we want, but striving to make sure that the other person feels validated and loved and included and appreciated and treasured. And that in and of itself, if you guys are both doing that for each other, like, you're gonna get your needs met. So that really was a game changer for us. And I'd say it took us maybe a few months to get in the routine of like, this became a habit, and not like, I'm thinking about, he said this, so today let me do that. It just became like normal that we constantly do these things, and we feel like we're taken care of and we're loved and we belong, and we're going on the right path and letting Jesus do what he needs to do in our relationship and our family, to make it be the best that it can be. So I mean, there's just so many aspects to it, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that needed to happen. And fortunately, we do have people in our lives, our family, who actually do care about our relationship, are willing to sit down with us and have hard talks and tell us things we may not have wanted to hear. But it that work, we did have to do that purposely, and sometimes it did feel really hard, and like, why is it so hard? And we're so in love, and God brought us together, it shouldn't have been like this. But you know what, every marriage is like that. Whether you start off knowing that it's from God, or you guys just found each other, like, you're gonna have to work to make it the kind of marriage that you want to have forever. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a baby with a bathwater thing. You don't throw out the whole thing. Like, if you identify that as an issue, then you deal with that issue. It's not like, if you, oh, this relationship didn't work and moving on to another thing. It's like, if you haven't dealt with something, it's likely you're going to bring that into whatever else you enter into with someone else.
yeah.
So as long as you're brought together by God, and you both are on the same page with working, it's worth it to fight for your wedding,
Yeah.
for your marriage.
And even if you weren't brought together by God, but you're willing to start over and be like, hey, we want to submit this relationship to God. Like I said, it does take two people, because there unfortunately are many marriages where one person kind of, I don't know, chose to not want to be in that relationship anymore, not do whatever it took to keep it healthy. And so, I mean, you can beg that person to stay, I guess, or you can just be like, you know what, this is going to be miserable for the rest of our lives. Do I really want that? Is that really what God wants for me? And, you know, you might have to start over with someone else, because you shouldn't be in a dangerous place where your life is at stake, or your health is at stake, or even like your spiritual walk is at stake. So we're not like advocates for like, everybody get divorced, but we're also not telling anybody to just be stuck in something that literally is going to be very detrimental to your life either. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Finding each other was easy. God drew you to each other. I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it did require, like, God did the work. I think the only thing that was kind of like, where I don't say it's easy, was because it took so long. Like, for me, I had to wait 30 years. And so that wasn't easy, like the waiting, and the preparation, being ready and trying to really work on what I knew I wanted in a wife. And I try to be become the things that I knew that my wife would need me to be as a husband. So there was a lot of preparation and work that went into it. So the finding part was easy in the sense that I didn't really have to work to find her. I just had to be ready and put myself in the place God wanted to introduce us, I guess.
Good answer. I'll do this one. You guys prefer to take some time to cool down when you're angry and have a conversation after. We've learned to do that. That is not always how it was. There were times where we've never gotten like yelling, like shouting matches or anything. Fortunately, thank you Jesus, because I don't want that type of marriage. But there have been times where I've ignored him for days at a time and been like, you figure it out and you get back to me when you figure out what you did wrong. Or me just, either one of us getting triggered by something and then assuming the worst about the intentions of the other person if we felt hurt, and it's like, you meant to do that, and it's like, actually I didn't know that was hurting your feelings, or I didn't even know that happened, I wasn't really paying attention or whatever. So nowadays I can't think of like an intense argument we've had in a while, but yeah, we did have to learn though to just be like, you know what, if you keep talking to me right now, it's not gonna go anywhere good, like give me a moment. And then we're able to come back after that, and that made a big difference too. And then it grew into, we can nip things in the bud before it even gets to the point where we're in a heated discussion. We can just, sometimes we'll just stop and pray and then sometimes we're just like, wait a minute, I'm thinking you're thinking this. Like, are we completely like on different pages? Are we even talking about the same thing? Like, and just having to stop in the middle of a conversation to get to the root of the issue. But that was a learned behavior and something that we wanted to do on purpose.
Yeah, and you have to learn that because you don't go into marriage already knowing what a conflict's going to be like. So it's a lot of it's on the job training. You guys go to Disney like every day. We wish, but no.
We get nothing done.
Yeah, but no, I think we probably go about once a month. We have annual passes, but our blockout dates enable us to, we have large areas, like we can't go in summer or we can't go
on the
this,
weekends.
yeah, so we're strategic with when we go. We like to go, obviously, but we try to plan around making it a really enjoyable time, and it got very dark.
It got so dark.
But so we go probably once a month is about a good schedule for us.
Yeah, unless we're blocked out, like he said, for the whole summer. You don't prefer the beauty of Hawaii to the business opportunities of LA. When I was in Hawaii, I thought I was going to be in Hawaii for a long time. So I kind of planned my future around being in Hawaii. It wasn't until after college and me growing closer to God that I realized he was drawing me to California and LA specifically, because my career had changed from wanting to be a producer or director in Hawaii to like being in entertainment, and I started becoming an extra on different shows. Like I did Lost. What else did I do? I feel like that's the only thing I did it a few times. There had to be more, but I was an extra on Lost for a few times, and I did some other stuff, and I got signed to an agency. I was doing a lot of modeling. Really good stuff was happening. And then it was when I visited LA for the first time, I landed and the Lord told me, like, this is going to be home for you. And so that was how God told me. I hadn't had any plans to do that. But now, knowing what I know, basically I want to be wherever God calls me to be. If that's in Nashville, if that's in Orlando, if that would be in like Alaska, we would go wherever God wanted us to go. But I would say that, I mean, personal preference, if it's just my opinion and my wants, I do love LA. It's a weird thing to say because a lot of people don't like it, and there's so much crazy stuff here happening. But I feel home here because I feel like I'm supposed to be here. But Hawaii is definitely very beautiful. I loved being able to grow up there. But as far as job opportunities, I would say for me, have been a lot more out here in LA. And there's a lot of stuff, really good productions happening in Hawaii all the time, but not on the scale that it's happening out here. So, but even with YouTube and what we do, we could kind of do that anywhere. But I just feel like God planted us here, and that's why we're staying. As far as we know, unless God changes it and this is just a season, but I believe we're supposed to be here forever.
And this is the longest you've ever been in one place already, right?
Yeah, I would say LA is I've lived in LA longer than I've lived in any other place in my life. Yes. My life.
My life. Your husband works all day and is never home. How'd you know? I'm not even here right now. No, we share our work day, so she'll have a day of work, then I'll have the next day, and then she'll work the next day. So we split up our schedule, and so we share the time like that. And I mean, probably 90% of the time I work from home, and I'm able to just work on projects and things on my computer or my laptop, or if I'm doing a painting, I'll do that here.
Your marriage is not perfect, and I would say yes, it is not perfect, and it will never be perfect. But one thing that I love is, this actually happened on Instagram, I think, where oh man, what did they say? Because I was basically saying my husband is like a perfect match for me, and I love our relationship, and then I forget what I said, but it was like, I'm so glad with my relationship, I love my husband, he's like the best fit for me, something like that. And then someone took that as like, oh, that's like one less person who's available, or like, you guys have each other, that makes the odds less that we could have a perfect relationship. It was something like that, and I was just answering it like, no, like, my relationship was designed for me. Like, I wouldn't be the best fit for just any man, he wouldn't be the best fit for just any woman, but we are made for each other. So that's what I'm trying to say as far as my marriage is perfect for my life, my purpose, my calling, my God, my Jesus, my this, my that. So yes, it's not perfect, but it's amazing for me. I love this marriage. I love this man. I love the family that we're growing and everything. But yeah, it's constant. It's a constant choice every single day to get better and to do what it takes to be there in a healthy way for my family. And yeah, there's one more question that I didn't highlight that I want my husband to answer, because I got this a few years ago actually, and I was like, I don't really feel led to make a whole video about it, because someone asked me to make a video about it, but if the Lord ever has put it on my heart to even answer, then I will. So I'm gonna let my husband answer this one, because this was probably the only spicy one that came into the suggested assumptions.
So why do I get it?
Because I want to see what you say, because we've talked about it before, but I want to see what you say. So this is the one you'll answer. This one.
I can't say that. We have a child right here at our feet.
Okay, rephrase it then.
Do you think it's okay to use toys, certain types of toys, in a romantic way in a marriage? Is that rephrasing it in a way?
In the marriage bed.
In the marriage bed.
You think, because it's not even saying, do you think, it's an assumption of you think it's okay.
You think it's okay to use toys in the marriage bed, I guess would be a phrase.
Yeah.
What? I don't know what to say. Going into marriage, having saved ourselves for each other, there was no precedent really for anything. So it's like how we relate together. How do we connect? What do we like? What are her interests? What are my tastes? And that's a process. And part of that process was figuring out if any added things would help or not. And we never really, nothing really helped or that we really enjoyed, I guess. So no, we don't use them. Or what was it? Do you think that they're okay?
No, they're assuming that we think it's okay to use them.
So
do you think it's okay?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and so if that, I'm trying to answer this carefully, but yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and but it's just not really for us, I guess, is how I put it.
Yeah, for us, there's never been anything that we, because I'd say as far as the toys, one time we tried and it was just like, it's not helping, it's not doing anything great, and we've just been fine with each other, like using the parts that got made. And so I wouldn't say it's necessary. I know some people use it to keep spice alive. I think you should pray about it and kind of have discernment about allowing anything in. But one thing that we're definitely adamant about is like not adding other people in to our intimacy, and also not like videos or pictures that are sexual in nature. I think that that's a very dangerous area, because I guess that's still inviting people in. It's like, what would be the point of that? How would that be helpful? I haven't heard anybody who's in a healthy marriage, especially a Christian marriage, who said, yes, we like this and this is adding significantly to our intimacy. But yeah, I think that's something that you should have very firm boundaries of what you guys are okay with, even if it's just toys. But definitely I'd say keep any person and sexual, like pornographic stuff out. It's just not ever going to be okay. In my opinion, and I feel like the Bible would back that up, as far as like keeping the marriage bed pure and keeping it between husband and wife and enjoying each other's bodies and stuff like that, and not allowing all these other things to come in and infiltrate it. But yeah, that's an interesting thing to bring up though, because I know that there's a lot of people who think about it. I mean, there's so many stores that promote that. You can get a lot of things to help you out, but we've just enjoyed each other. And so that's our answer to that, I guess. So if you guys enjoyed this Q&A or assumption video, if you've enjoyed the lighting changing constantly, if you'd enjoyed us being together in another video, let us know in the comments. I guess if you have any more questions that you would like to ask, or if you thought it was funny, if you want to see more things like this, I guess just give us ideas about other videos you want us to do as a couple. That'd be cool. And don't forget, like I said, to check out our love story playlist. I'll link that below too in the description box as well.
Love story playlist sounds like a mixtape.
It does sound like a mixtape. Cruising down PCH, love story playlist. So Wednesdays and Sundays, I'm here, he's here sometimes, my daughter's here sometimes, so if you want to check me out, I'm here on those 2 days. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you want to do those things, and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out. I know that YouTube's algorithm, you don't even know if you're still going to be notified, but do it anyways just in case they decide to let you know when I post. Anyways, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Bye. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Alrighty then. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Is it recording?
Yes.
Okay.